I recently watched Taboo Tattoo after I saw a cool scene from the show on TikTok, and after watching it, I felt unsatisfied. So, in order to dissect why I love and hate the show, I thought it might be nice to review it. So, let's do that. One of the main reasons I actually like the show is that I believe they actually hit a lot of story beats when it comes to the 3-act story structure, which should make it good, right? The story begins by laying out the central premise. We establish that there are two warring nations, the USA and the Kingdom. What they are fighting for is these weapons called tattoos, which are spell crests that imbue the wielder with great abilities. Also, these tattoos have these things called sources, which are these mysterious magical beasts that are actually the source of their power. We also learn about our main character Seigi and what kind of person he is. Seigi, a martial arts trained middle schooler. A kid basically obsessed with justice. In fact, that's literally what his name means. Often feeling the need to protect the weaker people around him. Seigi is given one of these tattoos in the second scene of the first episode by a mysterious man. The tattoo is called Voidmaker, which negates everything. Shortly after, he bumps into Izzy, who can sense that he has a tattoo, and later she beats him to a pulp in order to retrieve it, and eventually explains what tattoos are and how to use them. This acts as our inciting incident, the event that sets the main character or characters on the journey that will occupy them throughout the narrative. The only annoying thing is that how tattoos work is explained twice in one episode. Days later, Seigi asks Izzy why he can't use his tattoo, and they go on to explain it to him like they haven't before. Other than alluding that our main character is slow or the author doesn't trust the audience, this moment is unnecessary. Eventually, we engage in story beats that we expect to happen in Act 1. He refuses the call to action. However, with some advice from Izzy, the fight with his grandfather, and consulting with his own moral code, our hero decides to help the USA in their mission to collect tattoos. Act 1 ends when Seigi makes the decision to cross the threshold. This is when he goes to an event that will make him more committed to the cause. This event will directly affect him, raising the stakes and forcing some action. Both Izzy and Seigi get attacked by warriors from the kingdom. However, for Seigi, he has to deal with an opponent using Toka's body to attack him. Toka is a childhood friend and arguably his love interest. What I do love about this story beat is that Seigi, a boy filled with a great sense of justice, has to deal with an opponent who believes what they're doing is justice. This isn't just two people trying to kill each other. This is a clash of ideologies. The only thing that throws me off about this setup is how they deliver their fan service. In one scene, we have Izzy groping Toko. And while they may look the same age, it is clearly stated that Izzy is way older than she looks. Her body has simply stopped aging as a consequence of using her tattoo. So you do what you will with that info. Act 2. The first part of Act 2, we see how our character's life changes now that he has chosen to embrace the tattoo world. And usually we introduce some new characters and a few battles with the enemy, just testing the protagonist. Seigi goes through a training arc, as an anime protagonist does. We meet Lisa, who is an ally. Also, Izzy is not telling her that they found Seigi, the holder of a triggerless tattoo. Oh yeah, triggers are what the tattoo wielder, aka Sealed, use to activate their tattoos. Just as we start liking our Lisa, we receive our first pitch point. This story beat will reveal the power of the antagonist to the audience and show that they are a bigger problem than we initially thought they were. There is a coup d'etat in the kingdom where the princess unalivens their parents. Solid intro to the main villain though, paints a great picture of how cold the main protagonist is and hints at their desires. The kingdom attacks again. Izzy gets her rematch, but this time has to deal with a noise canceller, a device that renders her powers useless. Lisa loses her entire team and is kidnapped. All these moments force our protagonist to go on the offense in an effort to rescue Lisa. Okay, then we reach our midpoint climax. Usually this is when your protagonist receives a big win. Seigi defeats one of the kingdom's warriors without violating his moral compass, and Izzy absolutely wrecks her opponent Laka. And we finally have Lisa back. However, the main antagonist saves her underlings, and obviously we get some fan service, and apparently she smashes all her subjects. Act 2, Part 2. If everything in the first act leads to a big win, the second part leads to a big loss, usually. At this stage, we're introduced to some new characters. Sanders, the man in charge on the US side, BB, another void maker, who acts as a sort of mentor to Seigi, and introduces the knowledge that Seigi isn't the only one with a void maker. Also, he acts as Izzy's love interest. We also meet Wiseman, the man who gave Seigi his tattoo. Ka Shirka, from the opposition, whose introduction also drops more information about the ruins, the source of tattoos, and that the kingdom has found one. This eventually leads us into a confrontation with the kingdom and our second pitch point. The second pitch point is about slapping the protagonist in the face with the question of just how much he's willing to pay to defeat the antagonist and gain his goal. More characters are introduced, but it's all in vain. From the very beginning of our attack, one thing is made clear. Seigi and the team are 100% outmatched. People are dying, but it's hard to feel anything. There's no character development with these guys, so their death has zero emotional resonance. Also, why is Toka here? She's literally a liability on the field. At this point, the order transitions to the fall, and eventually the all is lost moment. Lisa loses her lover, Izzy loses her arm, Sanders loses his eyes and a few body parts. BB shows up to fight, but eventually runs out of fuel, and Seigi's source eats him so that Seigi becomes strong. And remember what I said about Toka being a liability? Yeah, she dies. She dies. I totally get it. At this point, the author is trying to push the protagonist to the lowest he will ever go. Toka dying makes sense, but how she got there is lazy writing. Also, when BB dies, Seigi is overly emotional. Here's the thing, you just met this guy, your relationship with him hasn't really developed that much. This emotional reaction is what I expect from Izzy, the person who just lost her lover, not you. And to top it off, with the US force decimated and Seigi emotionally defeated, instead of taking the power she needs from Seigi, the princess lets him go. Considering her final plan and her behavior just 2 seconds ago, it's weird. Then she literally tells us why she lets him go. It would make the story more interesting.
いるよ。万人が好む物語とは何だと思う？復讐劇ですか？そう。
Almost as if the author knows it doesn't make sense, but they need to find a way to justify this move. Personally, I would have accepted something like someone who we thought died came back, saved them, and ran away. But I'm not a mangaka or anything like that. Act 3. They give us the time skip. Seigi has obviously gotten stronger due to the amount of training he has received, and BB's memories and powers because, he had to consume him in the last arc. But Seigi has changed. He no longer desires the defeat of Arya the princess purely because he wants to protect people, but because he wants revenge for all the people he has lost. A stark contrast from the beginning of the show, where he wanted to defeat them because of his moral code and justice. This is usually when a glimmer of hope will appear and the team rallies together for a final stand. Arya literally calls him to say, hey, I'm coming to your base to get the last ruin, try and stop me. Obviously, this is a trap to obtain Seigi's power in order to fulfill her plans, which she wouldn't need to do if she had just taken it when she defeated him a year ago. Also, Lisa is alive, kidnapped, and we have to save her. So it's not like we have used this plot point. Oh wait, that's literally Act 2. They put together the final plan and the final battle happens. We really get new characters. Tamaki, great character, man. Absolutely love him. And his otaku girlfriend. They do tease he might die for some reason. Considering what we've seen, I don't think it's needed. But hey, we also get a fan service girl. Just look at how she activates her tattoo. Tamaki obviously wrecks her in the battle full of sexual innuendos. Some more fan service when Seigi battles with the vice captain, which is not bad. We get to see some more of Seigi's growth here in terms of combat ability. Even though he's clearly outmatched, he somehow wins. Good old-fashioned plot armor. In the last few episodes where we see the captain of the kingdom squad do something productive, and it's just fending off soldiers. They had no use for this character, Remove him and we can easily get to the same point in the story, no problem. Also, Lisa is possessed and we have to fight her, but Izzy is stronger. So she wrecks her and the crew from the earlier acts. Talk about her growth in skills and smarts. Also, randomly we discover that Izzy is Sanders' daughter. I guess that explains why she didn't get punished for hiding Seiki from the US Army. And that never gets resolved, by the way. We don't know why Izzy was so motivated to hide Seiki from her superiors. Or maybe I missed it. Or maybe it was covered in the manga. I don't know. I'm purely reviewing the anime. Cut to the main final battle. Interesting complication though. Because Seiki is blinded by revenge, he can't tap into the same level of power as the princess. Which amplifies the narrative that we need to defeat her to save the world and it's the right thing to do and it's not all about revenge. He's 100% losing this battle, but Tamaki and Izzy save him and fight the princess instead. Seiki, being the hero that he is, obviously goes back to save them and we get another battle. This time, they both turn into giant monsters and have a go at it. A lot is happening, man. A lot. Seiki eventually realizes his weakness and overcomes it to defeat her. You know, simple story wrapped up. He realizes that, you know what? This is more than just getting revenge. This is about saving the world, and that includes saving Arya. At the end, I'm left with a simple question. What's up with Seigi's character arc? He starts the series believing that he should use his strength to protect everyone, and by the end, he reaches the same conclusion. I don't mind a flat character arc, but the slide bar moment has already happened in Act 2. So when it happens again in the final act, it has less impact. The reality is the story has a lot of good plot points, but I feel like they were rushed through. I believe if you took your time in exploring all these facets instead of just giving us a taste, a lot of the moments would feel more earned. Moreover, everybody's motivation seems more compelling than Seigi. Whether it's BB destroying the tattoos because of the harm they have caused the world and his lover, or Arya's desire to rewrite the world and make it a better place. Everybody just seems more interesting. Even the final battle, Tamaki and Izzy end up taking over for a brief moment, and that's more interesting to look at. The biggest disappointment is that I feel he got played throughout and never really showed the world his version of justice. When he attacks filled with vengeance, it's the princess's plan. When he gets back on the right path, it's BB's plan. When he turns into a monster to defeat the princess and eventually win, it's all Wiseman's plan. I walked away feeling like our protagonist was everybody's toy and nothing more. Seigi didn't win. Wiseman did. Even in the end, he continues his journey in an effort to uphold BB's beliefs. BB's belief. Honestly, it's not a bad anime, but I walked away from watching Taboo Tattoo feeling like they had all the right pieces to make it work, but they just didn't stick the landing. Final score out of 10, solid 6. I guess.